waiting here to.
Hi, everybody. It is my pleasure, and when I say that, I mean it with my whole heart, to introduce my favorite Martian. Not the guy, if you're old enough to remember that show, but yes, indeed, my favorite Martian is Dr. Jim Garvin. Good morning, Jim. How are you?
Hi, Janet. I'm good, and you're my favorite Martian too. So it's mutual.
It's mutual Martian love here. For those of you, I hope that you know him. He's done so very much. He is the chief scientist at NASA Goddard. But again, his days of space exploration in Mars go back to the days of Viking. Tell everybody a little bit about who you are and your beginnings and where you are now.
Well, thanks, Janet. So where I am now is hoping to be on Mars, but that's another story. So I was lucky enough to have been enthralled with the idea of Mars from seeing desert landscapes in the Middle East and in Australia as a kid, and realizing that maybe this is the way the other worlds work. And so I got very fortunate to be connected to the Viking project in the 1970s, and that dates me and my wonderful gray hair. And seeing the team of colleagues, women and men, that made that project attack Mars as a new frontier so long ago got me hooked, literally at birth. And since then, I've worked on a variety of projects, and I was lucky enough to become the first chief scientist for Mars exploration for NASA in 2000, when we replanned the program that we now have. And things, as you know, Curiosity, Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter, Odyssey, Spirit and Opportunity, Phoenix, all these missions, they were the things that we wanted to give the world. And I've been lucky to be a part of them. And just a passionate interest for Mars in all ways. And even as a geologist, the Mars that it presents is just a masterpiece of Mother Nature's beauty. And that gets me going every day. So thanks for asking.
Well, with that intro, I want to ask the first question I have for you. How can scientific exploration of Mars over, say, the next 10 or so years set the stage for humanity's next bold forays into deep space? Or, in your opinion, is it time to push beyond science-driven quests and turn to other driving factors?
So Mars, Janet, and everyone, is a masterpiece that's incomplete. We see this mosaicism of ideas when we look at Mars. Possibilities of life, past, future. Whether that's there or not, we don't know. Magic for the Mars climate cycles that inform Earth in some ways, because they're so different and yet connected. All these piece parts we've come to know over the last 20 years, and all the way back to the first forays at Mars in the early 60s by the United States and the Soviet Union. They paint a picture that we know it's going to be beautiful. It will be the Mona Lisa that we see, but we don't see Mona Lisa yet. We see the fabric of what could be. I mean, Leonardo da Vinci passed away 500 years ago, roughly, and he still left that vision of beautiful things in art, science, and engineering. So to me, Mars is a science frontier, but the real action is the engineering of whatever we do there. And so for those women and men that are thinking of Mars, the next 10 years are really important, because not only are we building on this foundation that makes it so way cool, but it's also a time when we start to do something that to me is almost unimaginable. Conduct that round trip to Mars, to bring back the real Mars to the women and men, to the boys and girls of this planet, to study her up close and get ready for the round trip with us on board. So I think science and engineering, especially engineering, is going to open that frontier for us. And it's going to take perseverance for us and tenacity to keep going, because it's a long way. I mean, Apollo was hard. I think President Kennedy said hard, but literally, Mars is harder, and we want that challenge for the people of this planet, because I think in the end, Janet, what's so special is there's something in it for everyone. It's the masterpiece of engineering. It's a science quilt work that tells us about our own world through a different planet, and it's got something for everyone. The art, the next generation IT, the getting people involved just in managing programs that take people to Mars. I mean, that's monumental. I don't know how they'll do it. So I'm bullish on the next decade or so, because I think the Mars we see today will sharpen and become even more alluring, and I hope we get to go.
You know what? This is my best impression. We choose to go to Mars and this decade and do the other thing, not because they are easy, but because they are hard. And that's why we're going, right? Not because it's easy and it may be hard. So, what could we learn at Mars if we build on what we have been doing for the past 20 plus years as a world community? And how might that relate to improving lives here on Earth for our children and beyond?
So, Janet, I think Mars and Mother Nature through the lens of Mars is waiting to tell us something. It's waiting to tell us we have to shed our terracentric views because the solar system and the exoplanets we'll get to explore with astrophysics in the next decades, they're messengers. They're warning us of what we haven't seen because our planet hasn't presented that to us. Climate upheavals, cosmic collisions, evolution of life at different scales. And when we look at Mars, we get a different window. And so what I think we're going to see with Mars is first that the record of organic molecules is going to crystallize. And what they tell us about past life or non-life, not for me to say, lots of smart women and men are working that. But as we then make the leap to bringing samples of Mars selected carefully by those people with the Perseverance rover and supporting systems back to Earth, I think Mars will literally pop. And so for me, what I'm hoping we'll see as we enter the 30s, in that wild decade that's to come, I think we'll see a Mars where the prospects for there having been a story of life there, maybe a failed story, maybe a story we don't understand, I think that will become more and more apparent. And for me, there's a big dichotomy. There's the past records of all that stuff that it took us centuries to figure out here on Earth. Literally, I mean, notwithstanding dinosaur bones that stared at us in the face, it still took us a long time to believe that there was, billions of years of past life records on Earth. So think of what Mars could tell us. But then the extant life, what could be there now?
Mm.
What could the Martians be? I invented a term badly, so it goes to cartoon things. I call it the under Mars. I think the under Mars is the hidden Mars we're not quite seeing, and she's waiting for us. It's like that city behind the hill you didn't see in the movies. And that under Mars may be the buried ice capes that are 5 feet down, that are just literally a perfect place for if you were a Martian to go live and wait out the climate cycles, or something else. And I don't know what that is, but the dare to hope that Mars will present us with these amazing discovery potentials for a world that was an ocean world and a frozen ocean world and something else. I mean, what could be better? And we can learn from Mars as we look back at ourselves in our own past cycles in the history of life that we are living evidence of today.
Hashtag under, what did you say again? Hashtag under Mars.
That's right. The under Mars is Janet, it's that shallow skin of Mars we haven't seen. And trust me, it's going to be cool, literally.
Tell me this, what aspect of the Mars we are trying to, let me try that again. What aspect of Mars that we're trying to discover is going to change everything? I mean, it sounds like a little bit this under Mars is what you're talking about here, and then alter maybe even the trajectory of how we even explore it. If we find this under Mars, is that going to change our perception? And is that going to help us also understand maybe ocean worlds across, not just on Mars, but maybe across the solar system?
So Janet, I think we're in the midst of a revolution, a scientific one. Those brilliant women and men exploring, Europa and Ceres and Enceladus and Titan and exoplanets that could be, beyond like those we imagine here on Earth. That community is leading us back to Mars through new eyes. Mars is an ocean world. It's the manifestation of those oceans through time that we need to get to know. So I think as we discover how Mars worked over time as an ocean world, and I think we can do that in the next 10, 20 years, we will see a place that is highly informing of these other worlds, which manifest their oceans differently. Europa and worlds like that, and Enceladus, they're subsurface ocean worlds. What of the exoplanets that we can look at with telescopes like James Webb and beyond, was we start to actually interrogate atmospheres of worlds light years away, how will they tell us about ocean worlds frozen in different time states? So Mars is one of the ingredients that we have to get to know because we know so much, and because we have realistic possibilities of women and men going there ourselves. And that's what changes it. Some worlds we need to get to know, but I doubt we're sending, notwithstanding Arthur C. Clarke's great books, by the way, I doubt we're sending ourselves to Europa soon. It'd be fun. Venus would love to, little hot, So the moon and Mars are our frontiers for us. And that's what's so special. So I think we haven't seen anything yet at Mars. I've said that before, but I really don't think we have. So just it's an exciting time, and with Perseverance on the way and other missions, I can't wait to what we learned.
One of the things that I'm really excited about as far as Perseverance is that it's going to cache some samples, and then the 2026 rover, when it launches and gets there, is going to be part of that first ever sample return, robotically from the surface of Mars. What do you hope about that? I know your team is part of working on those things, but do you guys like get around and just get giddy because of that possibility of that sample return and being able to look at that and Mars up close as humans?
Oh, Janet, it's beyond words. We've been thinking of this since 1978. Now, you can all look at the 70s however you like. Please, people chime in. But we've been thinking and wanting to bring that Mars that we need to bring back to Earth, to the labs. And the Earth labs that we've learned to move small pieces of to Mars, like the SAM instrument on Curiosity and like the new instruments on Perseverance, they're little pieces of the billions of dollars worth of labs that can do amazing things. Not only, of course, working on challenges like COVID, but looking inside and about samples from other worlds. We look at meteorites as the proving grounds for what we can do for the Mars samples that Perseverance and the follow-on missions will return. So I believe as we pick apart rocks at nanograms, this is that billionth of a meter scale world that we can now interrogate. As we look at the samples inside without even touching them, with new X-ray techniques, new laser spectroscopy, the lab base that can look at these things with women and men across the world is phenomenal. And it's even ready to look at Mars in ways that are agnostic to how Earth works. And that's a really important new wrinkle that Sarah Johnson and her team are working. Let's not assume it works like Earth. Let's assume Mars may work like Mars, and we can learn from that, and not just vice versa. And so those samples that Perseverance will cache, that will interrogate, that will document, that will bring back beyond, are going to be those Rosetta Stones for understanding another world, other than, of course, the beautiful samples from the moon. And I've looked at Mars meteorites, and they're treasure troves of things that the community have been looking at and thinking, what if we saw this now from a place where we understood the geological history of the source, like the Fossil River Delta in Jezero or other places? That's the way we do field work here on Earth. And now we're going to be doing that robotically on Mars. I mean, come on. That's almost the stuff of science fiction becoming real.
Just listening to that, that's one of the missions when I, went around educating kids about the Perseverance rover. It was like Moxie's turning carbon dioxide into oxygen, and then we're going to like cache these samples. And again, it's stunning science, and congratulations to your team. Let me ask you this: what first human mission to Mars would you favor if we had to accelerate, if we had to do it right now to bring women and men to the red planet? What first human mission would you favor?
So any mission would be great. Don't get me wrong. And so I'm just saying that. But if someone said to me, Jim, all you Martians, we got to go. And, there's no more waiting. And some of our leaders in the aerospace industry are saying that, which is fabulous. Hats off to them all. I would say, let's get the women and men on site to low Mars orbit, the same way that we explore the deep subsurface ocean of Earth, the ways that Cameron filmed on Titanic for his movies. Let's bring us close, because yes, we want to go there and immerse ourselves in the real Mars, but just getting close will allow us to extend ourselves close enough to the real Mars to operate and teleoperate the kind of things that we now take for granted that we do all the time. There's telemedicine. We teleoperate in the deep ocean. We salvage things that way. At Deepwater Horizon, as an example, a while ago. So this teleoperated world is becoming real. We could do that from low Mars orbit and then make the choice. Okay, where do we go? When do we go? What do we do? One of my best colleagues and mentors in life once said, Jim, the one thing we don't want to do at Mars is get stuck on Gilligan's Island. And his commentary there, brilliant, is there's a lot of Mars to look at. The under Mars that I hunger for, 6 feet down, 10 feet down, the polar caps, the giant mountains that are, so almost alien to us at their tremendous girth, like Olympus Mons. So anyway, I think a first foray, a fast, smart foray to low Mars orbit, kind of beyond the Apollo 8 of the 60s, but a first step to Mars to leave behind the stuff that we can then use for those trips to the surface. I think that would be so cool. I think it's within human capabilities, engineering wise, to do that, ideally in the 30s, but that's up to, the people that build the stuff, not me. I think getting people close to this world we want to be on, living on, working on, as in some ways almost a lifeboat for our imagination would be so cool. Now, that's not the only solution. And we've all looked at things. I mean, many of us that do Mars stuff have thought about the sprint missions where we go to Mars, land for a couple of weeks, get back home. Also way cool. I mean, so there's room for all of this, but getting us there, I think, will change the game. And that's a tough change because we're doing so well with the robotic extensions of ourselves. So that's just my dream. And I just want to say one other thing. Perseverance, people forget, is more than just a caching mission. And that's why she's so cool. She not only will demonstrate powered flight on Mars, so who doesn't like that? I mean, not that my kids will let me fly drones, but
Ingenuity is very cool. Tell everybody, I want to get this right, how fast those RPMs are going on Ingenuity.
Well, it has to move literally 5 to 10 times faster than on Earth just to make up for the atmospheric pressure density difference to fly. So imagine flying a drone on Earth. You can buy one and do cool stuff. Now you have to do it on Mars, all robotically, with unknown unknowns about everything. And the fact that we're even talking about it is why I trust engineers to do the great things, because they succeed. But the other thing that Perseverance is carrying, and Moxie is way cool, has another little secret ingredient. It has this magical radar called RIMFAX. And that radar can see tens of feet down at inch scale to literally, as we're driving, measure the subsurface. No digging, no drill, baby drill. Let the radar drill for us. And RIMFAX can do that and interrogate the under Mars as we're doing all the other great stuff we have to do. The other thing, of course, I think people forget, the camera systems on Perseverance are beyond words. The Mastcam Z with its pan zoom, the same way Cameron filmed movies, we're taking to Mars now. This is going to be HD Mars comes alive. And Jim Bell and his team, I mean, come on. It's great now on Curiosity. Just imagine this level of connectivity to Mars, to our eyes, to how we explore, and all the other cameras. I mean, don't get me wrong. They're all great.
But you know what? What I'm even as excited about is the microphone. And when Ron Sparkman and I talked on Monday with Bill Nye is very excited about that microphone that is on, because Jim, and I know that you love music and musical theater like I do. What I'm imagining is that once we get that recording of when that dust storm and those things on Mars, I want to hear what Mars sounds like. I want to put that to music. I want to put that as my sleep music at nighttime, the sounds of Mars, right? That's another particularly instrument I'm excited about, because I think as someone who's super auditory, being able to hear that really brings Mars to Earth.
Indeed. And so you're describing, Janet, so beautifully, the music of the real Mars. And bringing that to how we would interpret that, just like the muralscapes we'll make with our cameras and the three-dimensional views of the under Mars, all this is going to change our views of this planet. And while we can't fly missions as advanced as Perseverance every time, they'll open our eyes to the Mars that we will see ourselves when we put those first women and men and robots on Mars as soon as possible. And so the lure of Mars as a place we can go and do a microphone as we listen to the sounds of Mars. And I don't know what they will sound like other than the blowing winds of a planet with a dusty atmosphere and a history that it's calling to tell us, hey, come here, people. I don't know what it will sound like. I haven't spoken Martian. I've been told it's not like Klingon, though. That's just one thing I've learned. So
That actually leads us in. Heidi Ann Jacobs has a question. Could we be the Martians? What if we're the ones we're looking for? I like the poetry in that.
well, and Heidi and everyone, the Martian Chronicles by Bradbury made that supposition in the 50s, and maybe we will be. Maybe we will be going to a place as the first organized living things and bringing with ourselves all of the stuff that lives on us and in us as part of that ecosystem. Maybe that will be the case. Or maybe Mars had its own and we'll have to keep away from it so we can protect it, so we can understand it, because it may be something so informative to us from a different viewpoint. We need to read the record of life as it isn't here so we can understand ourselves better, I think. And that power could be cool. So anyway, I hope you get to be, Heidi, those first Martians, or at least earthly Martians, that get to go. That would be way cool.
Last thing, and I want you to wrap up with this. I've got 10 seconds. 10 seconds, quickly, a message to the Martians.
Hey, Mars, we're coming back, and we want to stay to learn from you so we can live better here. So welcome us, because we're ready. Thank you for inviting us.
Hashtag underlife.
Hey, Under Mars, I'm waiting for you.
Under Mars. I'm going to get it right yet. Thank you so much, Jim. We're going to return to all of our great programming. We've got more great stuff coming at the end. And Ron I'm getting a new, hold our smiles for 10 seconds here. Guys, thank you. We've got more great programming coming up at Humans to Mars.